X-Men 97, Season 1, Episode 7, Thoughts. This episode is called Bright Eyes. Another episode I love spoilers for every episode of the show and the original show. Yes. And let's see, yes. Yeah, spoilers for every episode of this show, up to and including this one. The show is rated TV PG, so will this video be? Let's dive right in. So, yeah, really appreciate this really compelling depiction of grief. That's something I've said on this channel before. Yeah, and I really appreciate how, like, we're seeing, Rogue go further. She was a villain for a while, and maybe she's headed back to this, and Morph even points out, is this what we are now? And let's see, yeah, I thought that yes, I quite liked the depiction of, we get this detail about, yeah, I mean, technically I'm on your side here, but as a politician, I have to worry about what things look like. It could be even worse, you might end up with someone who has no empathy, someone who wouldn't even tell you that you're lucky that I'm not doing anything for you. This has happened a lot of times throughout history where, yeah, politicians, diplomats, people who you would think it's part of the job description, you have to help these people who are in need, and they'll be like, yeah, but, the current situation, I can't be seen helping you. Also, great with, he does actually, Roberto actually does, come out to his mom, and, I love this little thing, and Jubilee's like, oh, yeah, I guess you could just blurt it out. And, his mom just, like, pours a tall glass and, just, I'm not done. Let's get another one of those, And, she's like, ah, oh, finally, And, yeah. Having never had the experience myself, I can only relay what others have said. But, yeah, some people, they come out to family members, and the family members are like, I knew it, but I wanted it to be your decision, not to out you, And I do like this detail of, since you turned 16, what was it, 4 different places that we lived have had fires in them. So yeah, that is, yeah. And let's see, but yeah, I really appreciate, Jubilee points out, if you had been here, your mother would be burying a stranger right now, And, hey, apparently Jubilee's foster parents do still exist, off-screen somewhere, Not sure. Have we heard at all from them since the pilot of the first show? So, Anyway, but that was a decent little... And, she points out, I haven't heard from them in months. But this thing of, yeah, someone I'm related to might have died, yeah, so suddenly they are contacting her. And I was not expecting, so I have the title here, The Purple People Eater, written and performed by Sheb Woolley. That also appeared in Nope. I guess maybe that song is making a, re-emergence into the public conscience, because that's, yeah, that song was big for a while. I believe they even made a movie, which I hear is absolute garbage. But yeah, Bastion is kind of purple, so that is, yeah. I quite enjoy, Mr. Sinners is like, how could you even think of doing this? This is ridiculous. And, Bastion's like, I actually learned a lot from you. You taught me what not to do, just, yeah. And he's not wrong, that is the curse of the long time, recurring villain. got to fail a lot, otherwise he couldn't be, if he succeeded, the show would be over. So, yeah, Bastian gets to come in and be the new hot thing. And, right, I really appreciated Jean talking about, the all these futures lost, Right, and this is apparently the first time that Emma uses her diamond form, which, that is, in the comics, that is a thing. I don't actually know if, it's been a long time since I read one of the comics, especially one that had Emma in it, but Emma Frost, if maybe in the comics, her telepathy and her diamond form she didn't get access to both of them at the same time. But yeah, that was neat little, and we get that killer line. I've always been good under pressure, because that's how you get diamonds. Pressure. And I think that more or less, yeah, really, really compelling scenes of Rogue flying around. This is her way of grieving. She does not attend the funeral, by the way. Killer speech by Kurt. I really appreciate, because being that he's a devout Christian and Remy was quite the sinner. They maybe weren't the best of friends, but Kurt does take it very seriously. Love that he's in the intro too, by the way. But yeah, the all these card metaphors that he uses. Life like the cards was wild, but I think he was bluffing. Just fantastic. And yeah, right. Rogue, instead of attending the funeral, she's going around. She's attacking military places, and I love being quite fond of the Hulk. I am never gonna turn down seeing General Thunderbolt Ross be proven wrong. He's like, excuse you, this place was built to resist the Hulk? I think we're okay, and she immediately gets down there, just, yeah. And the guy actually does sound somewhat like the original MCU one. I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. I have it right here. William Hurt, R.I.P. Right. I've appreciated, Steve Rogers showing up. When Beast first referenced him, he's like, Mr. Rogers is out there. And, for a second, I'm like, I think he means Captain America, but he's not talking about, like, Mr. Rogers of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, is he? And, yeah, he serves as a stand-in for America, and yeah, sadly, a number of times, American policy has not taken care of minorities that they could help because of what it might look like. So, yeah, really appreciate that. And she knocks the shield away. That was pretty fun. I think that is more or less right. And yeah, Rogue pointing out this isn't a prison, this is a resort. Gyrish is doing perfectly fine there. And she doesn't just, yeah. For all this time, she's avoided using her powers. And now, she takes off the glove and uses her power on him. And, yeah, that's how she's going to get the information. And, he even taunted with saying, yeah, Jean already tried this, didn't go so well for her. And, as mentioned earlier, appreciate this villain arc stuff for her. Right, and yeah, Jean and Cyclops become aware that Cable is theirs. I really appreciate, I don't blame you know, the original show had a lot of appearances by Cable, never mentioned who his parents were. And Cable also, you know, has a pretty significant role in Deadpool 2. Again, they really don't get into it. I appreciate that we are now at a point where it's, yeah, you know, they're Jean or possibly her clone, or like actually, yeah, I guess it was her clone. Yeah. That we know for sure. There's a lot of confusion, but we know it was Madeline Pryor, not Jean Grey, who gave birth to Nathan, and then he went into the future. Now he's back, and it's Cable. So yeah. Let's see, and I think that more. Right. Really appreciated when you know the yeah, Kurt wakes up Rogue, you know, who took a, you know, she's hanging out near Day of the Dead celebration. I guess she's just watched Coco, which is quite good. I had heard it was, finally watched it. Yeah, it was really good. And, you know, yeah, he's there to comfort her. And then we see the rest of the X-Men. And it is slightly, you know, kind of like, okay, could you not just stand there and stare at someone who's crying? But, you know, it is also communicating, you know, you're not going through this alone. And, you know, it was, of course, Jean who found Rogue using her psychic powers. And then Kurt was chosen as the one that should be the first face she sees. And I think that more or less covers... Yeah, really love the tease at the end with, you know... It sounds like Bastion is working on controlling Magneto. And that definitely could be, you know, if Magneto... If he has Magneto do really awful stuff, that could really turn people against mutants and the X-Men. So I'm guessing it's something like that, but yeah. And it is also just, it's a fun meta thing to, you know, fairly early in the new show to have someone say, you know, you tried all this stuff in the old show, now we're, you know, we're on a whole nother level. Right. Really appreciated the seriousness with which, you know, you've got the, you know, what's the line? You know, I wouldn't want to be a survivor or something like that, you know, and they get as edgy as they're willing to right now with this sort of thing. And, you know, yeah, like the implication is very strong. We get that, yeah, people were really badly hurt, and yeah, some might have survived, but in what state, you know? And that is, again, you know, I've never been to a war zone myself, but that is what, you know, you hear from, I believe they're called war journalists, you know, yeah. And you know, first-hand accounts from the people who live in those areas when stuff like that, you know, happens. So yeah, and again, super relevant. There's, you know, way too much awful stuff going on around the world. You know, I don't know if this was made before there was already so much support for Palestinians. I can imagine they might not have been sure, and certainly I think it's very easy to read this as being, you know, about Palestinians. I acknowledge it's also very, you know, Genosha in some ways very analogous to Israel, you know, the state itself. But, you know, right now it's especially the people of Gaza that, you know, are being attacked in this sort of way. In such a brutal way, not literally the exact same methods. Yeah, I think that is right. Yeah, Morph had a couple of really great moments, really loving them. In just, they get the message from, um, what was it, Diet Dr. Oppenheimer, which also just rewatched that movie. Holds up 100%. But yeah, this thing of, okay, so we don't trust this guy, right? Are we really gonna go along with what he said here? And they never run out of diet. Presses the button. This is certainly an entrance to a secret lair, And we see them all in the elevator, and like everyone's stone faced, and Morpheus like drinking the. Because I mean, they well, did they pay? I'm not 100% certain if there was money exchanged, but they got that soda. In my experience, soda has to taste pretty bad for someone not to be willing to drink it once they have it in their hand, And yeah, really cool as they see all the robots, and we get this thing of, oh, they're making new, and it turns out that Trask was turned into this kind of cyborg, yeah, and that was also really great because like the moment that Rogue drops him, we think, she's just gonna let him die like that, and then he attacks. We realize, oh, he actually was, and then we get the detail. Jean is like the what's the word? His mind is still in there, and I forget who, but someone says, yeah, but he's also attacking. We can't go easy on him just because he might, like if they go easy on him, they might be able to save him, but he's also really, really dangerous. So, and right, I will say I was wondering if they were gonna let at least one, like, were they really gonna kill Gambit and Magneto, two such compelling characters, in such a short amount of time in one episode? So they did, we now see they did let Magneto survive. I do really appreciate it. It does seem like Gambit did die. I really felt like it would just be like, okay, come on, if nobody, none of the really, really major characters died. At that point, it's just like, okay, now, that then you're not really taking seriously the events you're depicting. But yeah, as far as I can tell, yes, Gambit is indeed dead, and yeah, um, the I think that is everything for the